Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Ed Arriola. Hey Ed, how are you?
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, man? Good. To just kind of give our listeners of yours a little bit of your background, Ed is a husband, father, entrepreneur, and a multi-business owner. He came from a very poor family from Uruguay. He migrated with his family to the United States when he was 9 years old. While struggling with the language and rebuilding his life in the United States, he became a fan of business. He graduated from high school and decided to skip college to pursue a corporate position in retail. He climbed the corporate ladder in a few companies and then decided to build his own business and become his own boss. It was hard to build a sustainable business without help, but he continued to build for other businesses. He now owns four different businesses, and he's a licensed general contractor in Massachusetts. He is currently very involved in real estate and flipping homes. He enjoys working with people to help them build their own future. So he decided to build a program and wrote a book called Crushing Your Massachusetts Construction Supervisor's Exam and Becoming a Successful General Contractor. This program helps people from passing the CSL exam to building a successful business and more. The program is called the GC Bible. His goal in life is to help people to get out and there and win. He wants to use his knowledge to help people get finally educated. And on top of that, just last week, he became also a number one bestseller of a book that he was a co-author called You Can Overcome Anything. So Ed, man, I gotta tell you, there's a lot of information. You've done so much, and definitely though, I want to hear about that. I want to hear about your struggles and your challenges and your obstacles. From one, why did you decide to leave Uruguay, or your family decided to leave Uruguay and coming over to the States?
Well, just like every other country in South America, Uruguay is a third world country, and same thing with Central America. I'm sure you know, but my family was struggling to make ends meet. My parents were hard workers. My dad's always been through construction. He was a hairstylist. He was he did a bunch of different things. And out there, if you don't hustle, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to eat. And my mom was actually a newspaper editor, and she was making good money, but things started to, prices started to rise. There was a lot of conflict in the country. The country's economy was very, very unstable. And some days we would have, food to feed everybody. Some days we wouldn't. So I think my parents' choice to move to the United States was because of that, the financial struggles that we had. And they definitely wanted to give us and me a better future. So I think the main thing was that the fact that, there was no future for me out there. There's no future for our family. There's a lot of poverty. And, my mom knew that if she put me somewhere where I could have a chance, that I would take that chance. And I think that's a lot, a lot of immigrant successful people have that in them because, they know what it's like to not have. They know what it's like to lack, the essentials. So they appreciate wealth much more. And that's just my opinion.
Right. Did you ever, especially coming to the States, I saw this a lot growing up. I came here very similar to almost like your age. I got here when I was 10 from Mexico. And one of the things that I noticed was that there was always people that perhaps didn't really appreciate what they had, and so there was a lot of influences. So were you ever influenced to like maybe get into drugs, gangs, or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the option was there at all times, here and there. So, I do have a lot of people I know who have chosen that walk of life. And nowadays they look up and thankfully are changing. Some of them are changing their lives. Some of them are still in the same, um, thing. And I feel like, we are all the same. We just make different choices, and we're all good people, and we choose our paths, and each path brings you different scenarios in which you have to survive, or you have to do what you got to do to get to where you want to be. And that doesn't justify anything, anything bad that happens, but because we all have our own minds, and we know what's good and bad and wrong, right? And I think the biggest thing was that my mom was very influential on that. She showed me, okay, this is what drugs does to you. She brought me to a place where there's a lot of drugs. This is what being on a gang does to you. And she would expose me to things like showing me somebody who died because of a gang. And she gave me a peace of mind, very early in my life. So when I was offered drugs in high school, I knew better. I said, I don't want that. I'm all set. I know what that does to me. So I feel like being from a family who was, although we were a third world country, and we were poor, there was still a lot of good around me, and a lot of good knowledge, thanks to my parents, that was passed on to me.
Yeah, and that's definitely I think very important. The fact that you had the foundation, that family values, because I think that's one thing that a lot of times it tends to people tend to miss out. And I know growing up and seeing other families from different countries migrating to the States, a lot of times the parents were too occupied working, and nothing wrong, right? They were just too occupied working, and then the kids, unfortunately, all they had was the influences and or the connections outside of their family.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned, even with talking to many different people on the podcast that have gone and taken that path of drugs or gangs, it was a part of acceptance. It was the fact that I'm missing that component of acceptance, or that component of feeling like I'm in a family type of environment, because that was lacking in the household. And so therefore they went outside and decided to get it someplace else. And so that's definitely, I think, a great advantage that you had. The second thing, yeah.
And I know, and what you said really, really made sense too, because my parents were always working. My dad was always working. My mom was always working, and I was home a lot. I was very lucky to have an older sister, two older sisters who watched me and kept, basically, for example, my sister Maria was like a mother to me, who, when my mom wasn't there, my dad wasn't there, she was in charge of me, and she was, 15, 16 years old, taking care of me, while also taking care of her newborn baby. So it was definitely something where it was a family thing, where, I was raised between my mom and my dad, and my my sisters as well. They had a lot to do with me being healthy and being, not being left alone while my parents were working.
Yeah. Did you go through any challenges in terms of overcoming the language barrier, the fact that you didn't have any friends, the fact, I mean, did you even also not only overcoming that and just learning the language, on top of that, like, were there any, I don't know if I consider that bullying or anything like that, but any isolation from other people in the school area, because you were different, you're from a different country, you're not, you don't belong here, kind of thing? Did that ever happen to you? And if did, how did you overcome those things? Because that's, that happens even now with people that are born here in the States. It could be seen in the workplace, it could be seen in a neighborhood, it could be seen in a family, where sometimes they feel like the acceptance is not there, or there's barriers, and there's all these different things, the bullying that takes place.
Yeah, so I went when I came to this country. I went directly to like fourth or fifth grade, something like that. And just like you said, it's funny. When the first week of school, I got in my first fist fight. And yeah, and so I've been doing martial arts since I was like 6 years old. So I've done Shitoryu and Shotokan, and I still do it until today, you know. And so I knew how to defend myself, and I knew not to fight. But the first week that I got in here, because I was a new kid, didn't speak English, and I was Hispanic, I we came into a family that were Dominican, and we rented an apartment underneath them, and so I would have somebody who translate for me in school, and yeah, the first week, one of the kids was like, "Oh, we're gonna send you to the hospital,"
Wow.
and the kid that was that translated that to me said that you need to run after you get off the bus because they're gonna beat you up, and there's gonna be two of them. And I was scared, but I wasn't, because I knew I came from South America. I was the champion of the youth. I think it was youth 9, internationally in karate.
Wow.
And we were at that age, we were already doing full contact karate, so I wasn't worried. And of course, I got off the bus. I walked away, and I remember getting a tap on my shoulder, and that's when it went off. I believe it or not, I fought 2 people while my mom was holding me back, trying to get me
Wow.
to fight. So she was
Yeah.
actually helping them. So she was holding me, and they were throwing punches and stuff. And that was a
Wow.
horrible thing, but I actually managed to get them off me. I gave them a whoop, and and believe it or not, today I'm friends with those 2 guys. Believe it or not. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
funny.
I laugh when you said that, because that was kind of the same thing that happened to me when I came to the States. And
Yeah.
I went to fifth grade, and I actually got into a fight in my class. Like literally the first couple of weeks too, I got into a fight, and I don't know if it's because, again, I actually don't know why, but I got into a fight, and same thing. I'm actually still friends with the guy that I fought
Yeah,
in fifth grade. And so it's kind of funny, because, again, I
yeah,
don't know if it was the acceptance. It was that, hey, I'm better
it
than you,
was.
whatever,
And
right? Yeah.
and I talked to them about it one day, and I said, "Hey, listen, what happened?" He's like, "No, we were kids. You were different. We wanted to show you that that this is how it's done in America." And I said, "Wow, that was a bad mentality." And they accepted it. They said, "Yeah, it was. It was something that we grew up on." And
Yeah.
now I see that it's wrong, and now I see that you're a good person, and believe it or not, I got a chance to help one of them out once, and I did it, because in my mentality, it's always about what you give, right?
All right.
And if you give positiveness, and you're gonna get that back, even though that person has done something negatively towards you. And that's why I decided to make amends with them, and make things good. And that was like 5, maybe more. It was like 10 years ago already.
Mhm.
And great people, like they're good people. It doesn't mean that they're bad. They were just kids. But I was different, and that's a sad reality of the human nature, is when there's somebody who's different, we tend to exile them, or point them out, or bully them, or because we don't know who that person is. And unfortunately, kids are like that, and some adults are like that way as well. And that's just because they didn't grow up in that sense. But yeah, it was martial arts is one of those things where we learn to accept everyone, and not judge. And I think that was what helped me at that age, very early.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And fast forward, you obviously went to high school and all that stuff. What was the idea behind, what, I'm not going to go to college, I'm just going to skip college? And was there something driving that, or was it school was just not for you? How did you come to that conclusion? Because
So
like the unquotes, the American dream, or the what we are taught, is go to school, get a good education, and then get a nice degree, college degree, and then get a good job and retire for the rest of your life, right? That's kind of like the mentality. And that's what everybody's
I
trying to teach, right? So what
buy the
happened to
house
you?
with the white picket,
Yeah.
fence, red door. Yeah, have a
Yeah.
couple kids, be happy for the rest of your life. Yeah, no. I was a bad student. Like I could not learn. And now as a grown up, I started to realize that I'm a great student now. But I think the problem back then was I was taken off fifth grade where I was hyperactive, had ADD, and I already had problems with staying still, listening, paying attention, and I was taken out of that while I spoke the language and brought into a different country with no friends, to a place that I didn't speak the same language. I didn't understand. I didn't want to learn. I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to be there. And I slightly grew out of it. So when I made the transition from middle school to high school, I was brought to North Central Charter Essential School, which is a charter school. I don't know if if you know what those are, but
Yep.
And that school completely changed my mind. It's a 300 student school, 350 or something like that. And I still keep in touch with all my high school teachers, my principal.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I see them all the time. I talk to them all the time. I do jobs for them. My construction company does jobs for them. I do real estate deals with them. Just to give you an idea of what kind of people they are. You didn't just, oh, you're out of high school, goodbye. For me, I was the worst student, and they all tell me the same thing. I was the worst student they have. At one point, it's one of my favorite teachers, Sherry. I went as far as calling her a bad word, and
Wow.
And it's amazing how she forgave me for that, and overlooked that while after I graduated and hired me to do jobs for her, hired me to do work for her. I still keep in contact with her today, and amazing people. So I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to be in school still. I mean, the fact that I changed schools meant nothing for me at that moment. But she, I once I got in, they slowly started to make a change on me. They put me one-on-one with Mr. Nelson, which I still remember this guy's mouth and teeth, because my class for an hour and a half was to sit down and watch him pronounce things and copy his mouth so that I could get rid of my accent. They went as far as putting me in different English classes. I spoke Spanish, so they put me in Spanish class, and they realized that I wasn't paying attention in Spanish class. So what they did was put me in German class. They brought they saw that I wasn't really interested in German. So they bought Rosetta Stone just for me to have in the school. I mean, they've done so many things. I was almost expelled. I was given many chances. Eventually, I just grew up. By the 9th, 10th grade, I started to say, well, I need to get into a college. I'm gonna be nobody. And throughout my whole high school experience, I graduated with honor. I was the last founding student of the school, and I was on the newspapers for that. And I felt very special about that because I was treated very specially. But they slowly made a change on me for the better. But when I got to the end of high school, I still, although I spoke English, I was very smart. I learned fast. I still wasn't happy with the whole experience. So I said I don't want to be. I wanted to be a police officer, and then I don't know, something changed where I no longer wanted to become a police officer, and I got a job. I graduated, got a job, and I learned about business. I got a job at Advanced Auto Parts. I had many jobs because I went to school for hairstyling after too, and a bunch of other things. But the one thing that once I got into business on that sense, where I was given a set of keys and said, run the store from this time to this time. And I had to deal with employees. I had to deal with clients, customers. I had to deal with, all the bookkeeping and all that stuff. I said, wow, I really like this. And that company offered different types of, trainings and stuff like that would teach you about loss prevention and P&Ls and business accounting and all that stuff. So I would learn. And so one day I was like, wow, I really love this. And I just started noticing that when I would get into a book, I would retain absolutely everything I got. So I started reading and reading and reading and reading. And, I want to say 80% of my success has to do with the amount of reading that I do,
Yeah, and you said a few things that are I think so important to notate. You talked about that teacher that even after all those things that happened, she forgave you, right? And so I do want to touch on that for a second, and I want to touch on the power of forgiveness, and want to get your input in terms of that, because I think forgiveness is something that sometimes we tend to take for granted, or we don't really pay too much attention to it.
Yeah.
And just like we're gonna go up through some ups and downs, many different things in life, right? And sometimes we tend to get hung up on what happened, what could have been, all those different things. And sometimes you just gotta forgive. And it's not so much about just forgiving that other person. It's more important forgiving yourself for putting yourself through that situation, or for whatever the case may be, right? Just be at peace with yourself so that you can move on and move forward, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's so critical. I always tell people that for you to be financially abundant, and just not necessarily just financially abundant, to actually be happy, to be abundant, to be in a better state of mind, you have to forgive others, but most importantly, you have to forgive yourself, right? So that, I think that's so critical in that sense.
Yeah. And, it's just about living in peace, um, and it's hard because people don't understand that. People who like conflict or live in constant conflict do not understand what it's like to be at peace. And when you want to back off from that and say, I want peace in my life, I don't want conflict, I don't want to be involved in this, they see it as, oh, this person is being they're doing this on purpose, like they're doing this to be evil. And I'm currently going through something in my family as well, that it's sort of like this, as the same way. And what I feel like most people don't get is, when you have a grudge, or when you have um, when you have an issue with somebody, that remains in your head, and that remains there until you let it go, right? And this is where I get to my chapter in our book,
Mm-hmm.
Power of Letting Go, is I want to let go of things that happened in the past. I won't forget that they happened, but I want to let go. I want to forgive. I want to forgive everybody that was involved. I want to be able to say, I don't want to have to think about that anymore. I know it happened. I acknowledge that happened. There was an issue, and now we learned from that issue. However, I want to let go. I don't want to be in conflict with anybody. And forgiveness is huge, because when somebody wants to be have a healthy mindset, or mental health, um, the forgiveness and letting go of those traumas is what allows you to let those things go. To not have that in your head for the rest of your life, to not have that tension, constant tension of, am I going to see this person? Am I going to hate them? Am I going to get in an argument with them? If I see them, what's going to happen? Is it going to be awkward? That literally eats your head, and it takes a hold on to you, and you're always afraid to see that person or see those people, and don't know what the outcome's going to be. And being able to say, I forgive you, it's done. I understand you
Mm-hmm.
did something bad, I did something bad, we're done. So that the next time you see that person, it's just going to be a, hey, well, how are you? And not even, you see them, just wave, that's it. um, it's just depends how you look at it. Some people hold grudges, and they don't understand, and they don't know how to forgive.
Yeah.
And that's the main issue that they have in their lives, because they're holding on to all these vendettas and all these people that they argue with, and their mind is full of negativity. When you let go of that, you let go of the negativity, is done and it happened and I forgot about it. And it allows more space for the positivity. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And I have a quote that I came up with a while back, and I said, to be rich and wealthy inside out, you have to be at peace with yourself and everyone else. And when I'm talking about rich and wealthy, I'm not talking about a monetary value. I'm talking about being rich and wealthy inside out, deep down in your heart. You have to be at peace with yourself and everybody else. Even if you don't see that person ever again, or even if that person did you wrong and that person never comes back to you, he or she, never comes back, or whatever the case may be, you just got to be able to be okay with this. Because again, as you said, sometimes we tend to hold grudges, or we tend to hold on to this anger because of somebody else's actions, yet they're probably living their best life. And here we're suffering for something that we cannot even control anymore. Just be, be at peace with that, and then I think you're gonna find that richness and that wealthiness within yourself, right? And so the other thing you talked about is the mindset, and really the power of letting go, and a lot of that has to do with the mindset. You actually, one of the biggest obstacles you had was you losing your mentality, losing your mental health to an extent. Let's talk about that for 1 second. Because I think that's huge, right? That's another one where I believe that there's certain things that each one of us come to this world, right? We have the power to breathe. We have the power to enjoy life in a different aspect. We have the power to listen. We have the power to, use our mind. Yet, because all of that comes to us in terms of a free, there's no value to it. We tend to put less value to those things, and we tend to forget about those things. Yet, it's so powerful. So, talk about the mindset. Let's talk about you losing your mentality, and how that, what you've done to really come out of that.
It's just like you said, there's rich people monetarily, and there's rich people in mindset wise. The problem is that those people who are rich monetarily have a wall right in front of them, because they don't have the mentality that will create more wealth or more happiness per se. The way I overcome things is the same way every single time. I deal with it dead on, straight on. I talk about it, and something that it needs to be said, period. And a lot of people don't like that about me, because I'm very straightforward. Even my wife sometimes has has a hard time, because I hit her with reality like a ton of bricks in the face, and I look at that. Sometimes I know that I need to hold back a little bit and ease into people. But I'll tell you exactly what I think. And the problem is, and it's not a problem. The main reason why I do that is so that I can have a healthy conscience. I didn't leave anything unsaid, and it helps me deal with things right then and there, because that's how they should be dealt with. I don't want to hold something back and then hold it for months before I say it to somebody. I just want to go ahead and say and get it. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid, And I learned that not too long ago, that I needed to start being more direct with people, because people kept stepping all over me. And I learned that that's it. My mental health, my happiness comes first. Because if I want to make other people happy, if I want to help other people with their mental health, I need to be happy, and I need to be. It's the same thing as if you're gonna love your spouse, you need to learn how to love yourself first. And it sounds like something somebody just says, but it's real. If you don't know if you can't even love yourself, you can't love somebody else. Same thing, and I feel like most of the struggles that I had was because I wasn't up front. I wasn't straight up and said what needed to be said. And don't get me wrong, everybody's, that could be my opinion versus somebody else's opinion, and I could be wrong. But saying that allows for the other person to communicate And it's all about communication, because even though I'm wrong, I say what I feel, and they come back and say, well, no, you're wrong because of this reason. You assumed something about me. What really happened was this, and that. And you're like, oh, whoa, oh, I didn't know that. But it's part of the communication that goes between people, and the biggest thing for me is communication. If I have a partner, I've got to be able to talk to them 100% about everything, even about my problem. I want to know about their problems. I want to know what they're feeling. I want to know if I can help. But it all revolves around communication, right? So if you have any conflicts or anything like that, it needs to be said. And the way I overcome them is being very, very straightforward. And that's just my way. I'm not saying anybody else should do that. You could end up getting punched in the face for it.
Right.
It's just the way, and also allow for other people to tell you, like, argue if you're going to argue, but I'll argue with an open mind. Listen to the other person, because part of communication is the same thing. So when you talk on the phone, it's exactly the same thing. When you talk on the phone, you're talking and then you're listening, right? It goes back and forth. Well, it's the same type of deal here. It's like, for you to understand what's going on in the situation, you got to be able to put yourself in their position and see it the opposite way as well. And that's part of sympathy and empathy,
Right.
being able to put yourself in other people's, place, and being able to feel what they're feeling at the same time while you're feeling the way you feel. And just that's the way I overcome things.
No, that's amazing. So kind of going back to that, the mental health, working your mind, the power of letting go, all these things that you've talked about, I would assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that all of those things you've done are the things that helped you become who you are in terms of having 4 different businesses and now doing the things you're doing, right? Or what else was there for you to help you get to that level, or to get to that place in space, in terms of, what, I'm now doing my own business. I have my construction company. I'm doing real estate investing. I'm doing all these different things, because all of that also is not an easy thing that comes. Like, a lot of people will give up. A lot of people will probably say, hey, this is not for me, which happens so often. And I believe that, everybody's journey is different. Some people might take a month, 2, 3 years, 4 or 5 years. The important thing is not giving up, not giving in, right? So what other things have you done to put you in a place of success when it comes down to your businesses?
Kept trying. The difference between somebody who's successful and somebody who's not successful is that the person who is successful kept trying until they got it. And I'm still trying. You know what I mean? I failed so many times, and I'm still failing. This part of business is failures, and because those failures make you better, better business owner. Same thing with everything else in life. But I think in my business life, what has shaped me the most has been not giving up. And again, it sounds like something somebody would say on a quote, but it's not. It's true. Every time I fell down, every time I failed, every time I thought, oh man, I don't want to do this anymore, I had a little bit of a push, from something that made me fall down and completely, knock down my whole operation. And I just picked up the pieces and rebuilt it every single time. And again, Cesar, I'm still doing that today. My construction business does this. It's a roller coaster. It's just because there's so many moving parts. We decided, okay, this isn't working, we're going this way. Okay, this isn't working, we're going this way now. And just not giving up and figuring out what works. Like, figuring out what doesn't work is what's gonna get you that one answer that shows you what does work. And the person that does that, the longer they do it, the more they know what doesn't work, and the closer they are to know what does work. And most people give up. It's like the story. I wrote a story once for a book, and I'll tell you the story real quick. There's a guy who is an Asian family. They were miners, and the miners just digging. There's two of them. They were digging. One of them was digging in all different kinds of different spots. The other one was on that same spot, the same spot. The one that was digging on all different spots looks at the other guy and says, "What are you doing? You're never gonna find something there. You already dug that whole place out." And the person just kept going and going and going. And and that other person kept digging, dropped the shovel and said, "I'm done. There's no gold here," and walked away. And that person who kept digging and digging and digging found the gold. And that right there will show you exactly how business works, and you just keep trying until it works. And if you give up, you'll never find out if it was going to work or not. And it's just about commitment. It's about being responsible and figuring it out. And like I said, I'm still doing it today. By no means at all am I a millionaire yet. I know that each failure is a step closer to where I need to be, where I want to be.
Yeah. No, I love that. And even in that story, we're talking about just being persistent and being, as you mentioned, being committed to the process and not giving up. It reminds me of my mentor, Marshall Silver, where he talks about rehearse, review, and revise. And when you were talking about we're going to try this, that didn't work. We're going to try this different. So you're rehearsing, you're reviewing, and you're revising the process or whatever it is that you're doing. And I really like that because, again, that's what it is, right? The difference between having your own business or being an entrepreneur versus working a 9 to 5. By the way, I'm not knocking 9 to 5. 9 to 5s are great. I had a really good job. Is that though, that a 9 to 5, you just do clock in, clock out, do what they tell you to do. And you probably have that job, as long as they like you, or even if they don't like you, they'll probably get rid of you eventually. At the end of the day, there's not that big of an effort in terms of thinking outside the box or thinking outside of the things you're facing. As an entrepreneur, as you mentioned, things can go up and down. Peaks and values can happen at every single moment, and you got to be able to adapt to those changes. You got to be able to pivot from one place to another. Otherwise, you're gonna go down with it. And I know for a fact myself, I've gone through a lot of those things. I've lost a lot of money. I've been very low where I had a lot, and then I didn't have crap, and I'm like, how am I gonna make it? How am I gonna do it next month? What am I gonna do? I've been there, and yet, as you mentioned, as long as you don't give up and you keep pushing through, I feel like that's what's gonna end up making it for you. I tell people, if you're working for profits, you're doing it wrong. You have to be working for purpose, because when you're working for purpose, it doesn't matter how many ups or downs you have. It doesn't matter if you lose everything. The purpose is still going to be there. The purpose is still going to be your driving force to get you to the next level, to get you to the next step. If you're just working for profits, and the minute you realize, like, I lost everything, this is not working out, you gave up because you're working for that monetary value or that monetary accomplishment. I think is the other way around. Work for purpose, the money's going to come, right? That's my opinion, at least.
I think so. I think that's true. I myself work for joy, and it might be slightly different than that, but I think I do what I love. I am constantly, that's something that I constantly have in my mind, and the minute that I'm doing something that I don't love, I will drop it on a heartbeat. And that's just my motto. I'm here for a certain amount of time. There's no reason why I should wait until I'm a millionaire, which may never happen. I know it's going to happen, but it may not. You never know. I may not make it to that point in my story, but I've always just started with, does it make me happy? Do I enjoy this? Do I love this? And I have taken, and as you can see, I don't know if you look at my social media, but hey, you want to go paintballing? Let's go.
Yeah, you did see that. I actually wanted to do that. I saw that. I'm like, man, I gotta be over there.
When you come over, I'll take you.
All right.
But it's one of those things that I just decided that my life is just going to be an adventure, and it is. My life is a constant adventure. I mean, I could be hiking one day, we could be in Puerto Rico the next day, or we can. I just want to do that. I want to be happy, and I want to include my work life, which I do. I love being in my office. I absolutely love it. I love meeting with people. I love meeting with my partner Brian from YC. I enjoy doing all that stuff, and that's what I feel like life should be more of. And and if I love that, I want to continue to do it over and over and over and over again until I make it, until my life is an adventure that pays me, you know. And not everybody has that luxury, because not everybody has that mindset. You know, people like you said work a 9 to 5 and they do it to make money so that they can provide for their people, thinking that they don't have a skill that would make them more money. And that's not true. Everybody has something that they love. Why aren't you going for what you love? Because society tells you that you need to work a 9 to 5 and you need to have a great looking car, and you need to have a house, you need to have kids, and most people get to that point before they realize that they could be anything they want to be, you know. And unfortunately that's just the way it is. And the reason why this is a capital country, and you know, it's, we need people who are workers, you know, and who want to work a 9 to 5 and want to make other people rich instead of making themselves rich. You know, it's like, I'm totally against 9 to 5s, but that's me. And I understand people like that. I get it. People love to go home and forget about work, not have to deal with work, and they're happy that way. And I'm starting to understand that now. There's a bunch of friends and people that I know that I'm like, dude, you're so skilled at what you do. Why can't you do your own business? And they're like, no, I don't want to. I want to be home. I want to just forget about work, and I don't want to deal with it. And I'm like, but you could be rich.
Yeah.
And then I understand, like, they're happy. That's all that matters. You're happy. That's all freaking matters. Do that. For me, it's the opposite. The busier I am, the more things I'm doing, the happier I am, because my mind runs constantly, and I'm building something for myself. And there's a purpose behind everything that I do. You know, and I have a purpose at the end that I want to get to, that I want to do. And that's why I work 24 hours straight if I need to. And that's why I do different things and meet with different people. But I'm happy overall. The most important part is that I'm doing what I love. And I hope that, I really hope that more people start to understand that. I'm really starting to see a lot more people building their own businesses more than before. Maybe I'm just starting to notice, but I'm starting to see more people doing what they like, what they want to do. They're going for it. The thing is, they don't give up. That's the main thing, and that they're happy doing. You're not building a construction company just because it's going to make you money, like you said, a monetary thing. If you build a construction company because you love construction, and on top of that, it pays you. So it's like something that you do, the hobby that you love, and on top of that, it pays you. What else can you ask for, you know?
Right. And one thing that remind me of that, I think probably the reason why and why the majority of the people, I mean, I jump the ship and take the leap of faith and do their own business when they're so skillful, is because probably they're so comfortable in the space they're currently in. They have the fear of failure. They have the fear of being uncomfortable. I know that's, you know, for many, that is the case, because a lot of entrepreneurs are facing that, right? And so I think that once you can start getting the right type of groups, the right type of mentorship, the right type of networks, and I'm not talking about go spend a lot of money. It's just like even listen to this podcast, you know, follow me, those kind of stuff. People can start getting the idea of like, you know what, if it's possible, and they can give me some tools and ideas on how to go about it, then for sure I can definitely do that, right? And I think that's part of it. You know, a lot of people are fearful of that. Yet again, if you're happy doing that, go ahead and do it. You know, at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do. Somebody had posted something on Facebook a couple of weeks back, and he said, you know, I quit my 9 to 5 job, working 40, 50 hours a week, to work 80 hours, 90 hours a week, yet I'm more happier, or something to that nature, which is true. Because as you know, you and I will be like probably working until midnight, yet we enjoy it. You know, we like what we're doing. We might be looking at whatever, right? And so, no, that's pretty awesome.
And And I was gonna say, and that's why they need to read our book.
Yes.
And figure out the power of letting go. Read my chapter, because that's what it's exactly about, letting go of those fears. And I always go back to that. And like, to me, Will Smith is one of my most favorite. And I'm gonna call him an entrepreneur because he is. You know?
Right.
He's an actor, but behind that, he's a mentor. He is a huge figure. And when he talks about in his book about fear, and talks about like that bliss is on the other side of fear, that the best things in your life are on the other side of full terror. And most people are terrorized by the thought of not being able to pay their bills, not being able to feed their family, not being able to find something that they will make money quickly enough. And it's sad, but sometimes we have to take one step back so we can take 3 steps forward. And that's another thing that that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about. Let go. Like, you're done. Just go do what you want to do. Let the bills pile up. Fine. You'll catch up. It's but you're gonna do what you love. That's more important than any bill you can have. And take a step back. If you think, if you want to do something different and you're done and you hate what you're doing, but you got all these bills, you got all the car to pay, you have the house to pay, go rent. Get a cheaper car. Take a step back so that you can go for those dreams that you have, because you're not going to be able to do it. The further you're into it, and I say this because the older people get, the more in debt they get. The further you wait, the more you wait, the less of chance of doing it. Because you don't tend to take those risks while you're older. While you're younger, my age, 30 years old, 20, even 40, even high 40s, you can still take that risk of changing your life around and doing what you love. And there's no reason why anybody can do it. It's just about, most people, when they get older, they want to play it more safe. And I understand that, because they can't physically do stuff. But if what you love is something that's not physical, something that's not physical, you can go ahead and do it on the side. And those hours that you're sitting down watching TV, those hours that you're spending with your family watching TV or whatever it is that you do, vacation, take that time to build that, so that later on you can take all these vacations that you want, and you want to watch TV all day, you can. Right. But to me, that's huge. I don't understand why people aren't just doing that. If you're going to sit down from when you get home at 5 to 11 at night and watch TV, you can definitely sit down and watch TV while you have your laptop working away. And that's what I do. Right. And my wife looks at me sometimes just like, oh, again, but yeah, that's what's going to build the future. She's starting to understand now, and she'll let me do it. And I'll multitask, I'll sit there, I'll watch TV while I'm on the computer, or I'll play video games while I'm on the computer and doing it, but I'm constantly chopping at it, even a little bit at a time. And that's how I'm able to do all these different things. Then later on, you start setting people up where they are helping you move these businesses without you having to be there, which is not easy either, but it's just getting started. You take one step back so you can take 3 forward.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Ed, if people want to connect with you, learn more about your construction company, flipping houses, buying your books, where can they find you?
So they can find me on Facebook. Type Ed Arriola on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn as well. Or you can email me at edarriola@arriolacapital.com. And just look me up. I mean, I'm sure that they'll be able to find me on Facebook. I'm very responsive on either platform. I'm always on my phone, although I'm doing things. So.
Yeah,
it just means I'm not busy enough, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Right. We got to keep you more busy. No, that's awesome.
Right.
You talked a lot of, you brought up a lot of great points, and I want to know, what is it that you do on a day-to-day basis to keep you up and going in a positive mindset? Do you have any habits, any rituals, anything you do consistently on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I take me time. And the first thing I do is I take a shower every morning, and sometimes it's an hour long, but I meditate in the shower. I have a habit of being thankful every morning, and stating it to the universe. Hey, I'm thankful for another day. Thank you, universe, for giving me another day with my family. Thank you for allowing me to be healthy. Thank you for allowing my kids, my family, my mother, my dad, my siblings to be healthy and happy. Thank you for the wealth that comes in to me. Thank you for, I just keep that going, and then I play out scenarios of what I want to be, where I want to be. I imagine it. I can see it. If I can see it, I can make it. And I do that, and then I get out of the shower, and then I do my whole day, and I'll start dealing with all the shit that comes along,
Yeah.
and that's just how it is. And then I'll take a little bit of a long time every now and then. I'll drive up to like a mountain or something, and I'll sit in my car and just relax, listen to music, have a drink.
Yeah.
I'll come to my office and I'll have a glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
Just take time to be alone, to sort things out, to it's okay, like it's what calms me down and makes me reflect, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. My last question for you is, for the people that are watching us and are listening to this, if they are going through any sort of challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing they can start doing to start overcoming that challenge?
Well, they can learn about the power of letting go.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I love it.
They can,
Yes.
they can, hell, if they want, if somebody's going through a rough time right now where they want to learn about, our book, The Power of Letting Go, I'll pay for the book and I'll ship it to them for free.
Wow,
And they can
awesome.
have the book for free. Just have them reach out to me. You can reach out at EDARRIOLA at ARRIOLA capital.com, and send me an email. Hey, I can't afford the book. Can you send me one? I'll pack it up and I'll send it to you. And it's gonna make me happy. So
Awesome.
to be able to change somebody's life. That's why we wrote this thing. So
Yep.
they learn about the power of letting go and start letting go.
I love it. Yeah, man, I love it. That's awesome. That's actually a good way to really deliver that message for anyone going. And it is true. You got sometimes got to step back and look at it, and how can I let this go and put it into somebody else's hands, and just keep working through that. So no, that's
Open
amazing.
your mind. That's it. Open your mind to books. Open your minds to stories, and see other people's perspectives. There's nothing better than that, because it gives you peace of mind.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Ed, man, I had a great time, and definitely definitely thank you for being here. Anything else before I let you go?
No, I think that said enough. I got to get to work now, but
Yeah.
I love it. It went by super quick.
It did. I didn't realize it. So yeah. So once again, Ed, thank you again. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor, make sure you check us out on every platform where you can find your favorite podcast. Please make sure you share this, because somebody needs to listen to this message. And stay tuned for the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform, where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.